What's up, guys? It's John Nelson, and you are listening to the Starting Block Podcast. If you are new to the show, this is a show for complete athletic development. Our mission here is to give you guys the tools to win, whether you're the athlete, the parent, or the coach. Now, let's break down the show for you new guests. First off, I appreciate y'all joining. Thanks so much. As I keep saying every episode, because it's true, you guys are paying your dues because numbers keep going up, and we appreciate that, and that gives us the ability to bring you guys a lot of good content, or at least hopefully it's good content, and some good guests too. So appreciate that, and new folks, thanks for joining as well. Here's how our show operates. We are slightly off the beaten path, which shouldn't surprise you. We are a little different than most shows. You're going to hear 3 different types of episodes from us. You will get a Q&A. This is a bi-weekly episode. That's where myself and my co-host, Chris Scarborough. What's up, my man?
Good afternoon, guys.
That is where Chris and I will take the questions that you submit to us, and we will answer those. That can be anything from training, the neuro stuff, rehab, performance, you name it, we'll tackle it. Chris, where can they submit questions?
Submit questions to info@startingblockpodcast.com. And by the way, we've gotten questions, John sent directly to you. We've had people ask us questions on our, some of our Instagram posts. So, apparently, those might be fair game as well. But we prefer that you send them to that email, info@startingblockpodcast.com.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll build on that real quick. Yeah, I don't have any problem helping you through DMs and stuff. But if you could just work with us and kind of help follow our system and keep some things organized, that'd be great, because we also do have businesses to run as well. And I had a coach from a baseball team in Texas reach out to me, and we scheduled a phone call. It was great to talk to him, and he DM'd me, and that's totally fine. But if you're gonna submit questions you want on the show, I definitely ask that you please email them to us, and that way we can stay organized. So that is Q&A, guys. The next type of show you'll hear from us is our other bi-weekly show, and that is the guest interview. It's where we're going to bring on our colleagues and friends from across the country. They're going to share their stories of success and what they do with their clients or their practice. And that's what today is, and we'll bring our guest on here in just a second. But today is a guest interview. Now, the final show that you'll hear is going to be our Friday Fire, Saturday Sermon. Just depends on when I can get to it. And that is going to be about 15, 20 minutes of me giving you a little insight into a little bit different side of athletic development, maybe the motivational side, the business side. We actually had one of my athletes, college athletes, come on for a quick episode a couple weeks ago, just talk about mentality from recovery from injuries. So it's kind of a smorgasbord of different things. But that's the Friday Fire one. And like we said, we say every show, there is a fee. Guys, we do ask that you pay your dues, all right? The only way that we continue to do this and we continue to grow is if you guys share this show. Guys, bring us a friend, please. Put it up on social media, tag us, let us know it's out there, because we're doing this for free. We're not charging anything. I think that's a very fair and simple thing to ask. I know you guys like it, so please do us a solid and help us grow the show and spread this mission, okay? That's all we ask for. So that's all our housekeeping stuff for today. Let's go ahead and get right to it. Without further ado, today's guest episode, we are pleased to welcome Mr. Wade Houchin from Wizard Performance down in Texas. Woo-hoo! What's up, bro?
What's up, Wade?
Hey, guys. How you doing? Good to have you. Good to have you on again and see you in person and not on the DMs.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. You're always sharing our show and stuff, man. And we greatly appreciate that, and looking forward to digging into this. I know you started Wizard Performance a little while back, and based on what your social shows, man, things are growing pretty good. And you do a lot of neurotype stuff out there as well, right? Like you're a square one guy, aren't you?
Yes, sir. Yep. We're getting going here about month 5 and into our facility here in Salina, Texas. Not Salina. So we working with about 30 athletes right now and a handful of adults, and mixing in all the neuro stuff into our kind of unique training modalities as well. So happy where we're at and know where we need to get to, and we're somewhere in between. So
that's awesome, man. 5 months and you're growing pretty quick. So that's great, man. Good for you. Running a business is it's a whole different beast, you know. Like,
Absolutely.
You're no longer just the trainer or the coach. Like, you are the trainer, the coach, the marketer, the bookkeeper, you know, the janitor. You're everything.
Absolutely, no doubt.
I know the feeling. That's why I'm 36 and I look like I'm about 46 because I've been doing this for 12 years now. I almost look as old as Chris. But anyways, man, well, let's tell us about a little bit about your training style. Like, what kind of got you into some of this, and before you kind of ventured to the neuro side, like, kind of what's your beliefs as a trainer, as a coach?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a longtime football coach and was a high school special education teacher. Started training people on the side, and I think the first system I really kind of went and studied was just like a lot of us, Louis Simmons, West Side Barbell stuff.
Oh yeah,
looked like a really good way to get people strong, and I'm a football guy, so in our meathead world, that kind of appeals to a lot of our nature, and so. Played around with that and, started eventually getting to be in charge of high school weight rooms and quite frankly realized that approach, being dogmatic about it, my kids weren't ready for it. We were out coaching them, if you will, in the weight room and probably on the field too sometimes. And, so I kind of, like anything else, you take the things that you feel like are still valuable and leave the rest maybe and go and search for something else. I've always at least tried to be on a quest for some knowledge and connect with great people and steal the best things that we can. So that was kind of what cut my teeth and, high school weight room situation, and started a little training on the side in my basement out of my house with my kids and their own friends, and it eventually grew into me getting out of teaching and going full-time into this. And this was while we were in Nebraska yet. So nice.
So, all right. So high school football in Texas is a religion. Like, yes, I'm in Tennessee, so it's pretty big too. But it's a religion down there. What's the training
from the Brad Arnett podcast? We're gonna we can settle that argument later.
Yeah, I remember that one. What's the training environment like down there? Like, from a football side of stuff, you say are they still? Is it still bang and clang, bench, squat, deadlift all in the same day, and do that 3 times a week?
Yeah, I wish I could say no, but yeah, that's been my experience. People talk a certain way about the state of Texas, and I'm, proud to be here and all that, but there's been a lot of times I felt like I moved back a couple decades or maybe more than a couple decades in time from where I came from. And it depends on, obviously, the community and the dynamics, but I would say it's just very much still old school, chase the weights on the bar, let's see how big and strong we can get. And, I might get crucified for this, but, at the expense of athleticism, and that's what I'm seeing down here. I'm seeing lots of unnecessary injuries, lots of, this is the way we've always done it, don't change it if it's not broken, don't fix it type of thing. And the mentality is, it's not super advanced, at least in my neck of the woods right now.
Sorry, go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, dig in a little bit to the, strength at the expense of athleticism, and why you feel that and what you see. Obviously, yeah, injuries are a part of that, but aside from the injury side of it,
Yeah, for sure. That's one of my tenets is, be strong enough, and that, correlates to even my experience as a college football player. I'm a short guy. I was a little slot receiver at a small college in Nebraska, and I came in at 165 pounds and I left at 205. And, just the quick and dirty version is I should have stopped somewhere around 185 pounds and still been fast enough and strong enough to play that position. So, being strong enough correlates with, I think it resonates more the higher level you get. I think, for youngsters, it's hard to get too strong, right? But I think an imbalanced way is what we're seeing here at the high school level a lot, where we're really strong in certain planes of motion, certain bilateral, movements, and at the expense of, training ligaments and tendons and going through full ranges of motion and things like that from a lifting standpoint. And then, I think sacrificing things that could be maybe a better use of time for what that, that 1 rep max kind of pie in the sky number that we like to chase here in westernized periodizations.
Sure.
Yeah. So, like, what is too strong, or what is strong enough for you in the sense of like a high school kid? Because there are a lot of high school coaches, parents, athletes that listen to this, but there's also a lot of college coaches that listen to this. I've noticed as well. But so we're all kind of working with a majority of the same demographic, 15 to maybe 19-ish, give or take. So if strength clearly is an important aspect to stuff, in your eyes, especially in the football world, what is strong enough?
Yeah, fantastic question. I think that was a Twitter response. Somebody had a good thread going the other day. I can't give credit where credit's due because I don't remember. But strong enough, I think, comes down to at least being a professional that's overseeing the program, and if whatever your important KPIs are for your sport, your athletes, whatever you're chasing, whatever you're measuring. How are those numbers correlating with what you view as a professional are the most important expressions that are needed for that sport? So I mean, we all argue over semantics and things, and hey, what's important and what's not, and what's too much and not enough, and we're super data-driven people to coach's eye people and everything in between. I don't think anything's necessarily right or wrong, but if what you're measuring for what you feel like is most valuable isn't matching up, then I think you just have to look at maybe what part of your overall programming could be lacking. Give here, take here, that kind of thing. So we're just constantly always looking for max velocity, and and I'm a big Tony Holler feed the cats guy, and I know that's like. Mm-hmm. When we talk about being strong enough, I feel like it's almost went to the other board where the critics or criticism as of late has almost been like we've sacrificed getting strong on the altar of minimal effective dosage, and like there's a sweet spot, and where is that? It's kind of your question, obviously, but if my kids' broad jumps are consistently going down, their vertical jumps are consistently going down, their 10-meter flies are going down, but they look better and their weights are moving. I think you just over time you start trying to pull that in or reach out to somebody that might help be able to guide you in that way. And so I think it comes down to what you're measuring, what you feel is important, and then for me, if sport of football specifically, and it's a Tony Holler thing, I want race horses, not plow horses. So I want to be able to run by people rather than necessarily run over them. And I know that's kind of anti-status quo for a lot of football mentalities. And, trust me, that's my sport, that's my game. But, I've seen it, be detrimental in my own life from like I said, I got my 40 time got slower, as I went through college, but I damn sure looked good in the mirror,
Right. Well, so let's back up for something you said just a minute ago. You said that you're seeing some, weird injuries, that for whatever reason, right? What are some of the more common things that you see? I mean, you probably heard, mine and John's podcast in the past and some of the things we've seen. What are some of the common things you see that are
Yeah, specifically where I'm at, knees and backs. Our local football team had 7 serious, knee tears in one season this fall. And the guys look good getting off the bus, I'll tell you that. Knees and backs, a lot of powerlifting mentality, a lot of heavy deadlifts is what's getting blamed for a lot of the back things from the kids that I see and interact with. And then just really like the non-contact, what I'm going to air quote, vilify me for this, but semi-unnecessary, things that, you didn't get rolled up on by a 350-pound, dude at a bad angle. You just jumped up for a ball, a foot off the air and came down and your knee blew out type of stuff. I just generally think that stuff's as preventable as possible, if I'm going to be political about it.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, those are the things that I think John and I have covered those types of injuries just a ton. Let's face it. I mean, it's that non-contact. And when I say non-contact, okay, I realize they're coming in contact with the ground. I get that. But we're talking, like you said, but it's not at some weird angle or whatever. These are things that someone tears their ACL just trying to change direction or whatever, or they their shoulder bothers them every time they throw the ball, but they never had a direct injury, nothing like that, or their back hurts from squatting. Those are the types of things that should not happen, right? Those are the things that we should not be seeing.
Yeah, I agree, and that's exactly what I'm talking about for sure. Yep, those things, and I think just I take anybody that would ever get hurt in my facility, or an athlete would go out in a competition and pull up with a hammy or anything like that. Like that's going to ruin my week. That I'm going to take that probably to the nth degree of what do I need to change so this never ever happens again? Because that really, really bothers me. And knock on wood, I only have one thing that really grinds my gears right now that has happened under my watch. But, and the odds are that it's not going to be the only one, right, over time. But at the same time, you just gotta look under the hood, right? You gotta be humble enough, I think, first of all, to say I might have got that one wrong. When I had kids crashing forward that were doing banded box squats because I thought West Side was the way to go, and they couldn't even hold their bodies, and they're getting thrown forward by bands. I was like, something doesn't look right here. I should probably stop doing this before I get a kid, with neck broken going into a squat rack or something. So it's like that's what I see around here. It's just like just the kind of stubborn refusal to adapt.
Yeah. So, coming from that football mentality, that weight mentality, you started to kind of slowly bridge that gap into, a little bit more of, like I said, the Tony Holler type stuff, the square one type of things. I definitely want to get into square one, but I'm curious, like, how being exposed to the neuro type stuff influenced you as a strength coach, as a trainer? Like, how did that type of thought process influence your training and your programming?
Yeah, and I have to go back to being a coach because that's where I first got introduced. Track Football Consortium. I think they're doing some of the best work in the world.
Oh yeah,
to be honest with you,
they are. I was there for the very, very first one.
Where was that?
We were up wherever. Gosh, I don't even remember where we were. Chicago, right outside Chicago.
Yep.
I mean, it was probably 10 years ago. I feel like, at least.
So as soon as I became a head football coach, that's the only clinic we would go to because I felt like I had decades of learning. Within that room, I didn't need to go to a big Glazier clinic or whatnot. And I found a philosophy, and I was leading a team of not great talent, awesome kids, but we didn't have a lot of talent. We didn't have a lot of size, so we were always looking for those hacks. And our injuries went away, so we learned RPR, got exposed to that, out of TFC. Went and got certified in it, and I think for a lot of people that are into the things that we are, that was maybe their gateway drug, their way in. It was a nice little warm up, nice little hack that beats the pants out of stretching and traditional old school stuff. And so 2 years of that, and we had no soft tissue injuries and no concussions, and from being pretty banged up the previous 2 years. And I'm not smartest guy in the world, but I try to draw some parallels there, and then just degrees of separation. You think this is cool, you should meet this guy, or you should do this, and then so we started implementing that obviously as a football coach, and on the side just the private stuff, and advanced into taking some posturology and some IP courses with Matt Boulay. And then you just meet people. You know how it works, right? You meet Sean Shermans of the world, and you meet Dr. J's of the world, and you just keep going down. And so how that's changed my viewpoint is, it just flipped it on its head. So everything is brain, central nervous system centered first. So my practice plans as a head varsity football coach were centered on the central nervous system as like, where do we go from there, right? Not Skelly, Indy, Team D, Team O. Where are we at a CNS level on Monday between JV and varsity, and where do we want to be by Friday? And so combining, Corfist and Holler and Dan Fichter and all those really good professionals that I've learned from over the years, combining that with what I was learning on the side through other modalities, and it just becomes a very brain CNS-centered philosophy, no matter the context, as a coach or private gym facility performance training spot. So.
Okay.
And how do you some things like for example, and by the way, this is a Sean Sherman square one thing, but were you able to find that as a team, maybe you could do things like Signal 6, again, one of Sean's systems that they could do? You could just have a whole bunch of kids doing it all at the same time, maybe something along that line, and that's how you were able to implement it. How did you go about actually applying it to a team?
I learned the Sean Sherman stuff after I was done coaching. So that came right after. So I didn't. And to answer your question, sorry, I got nothing good for you, but I would have been for sure. I think it would have been just, in a high school setting, that's kind of easy. I like to look at, some people that in the industry that have giant lines on a nice indoor turf field, and they've got everybody on command, and they're doing those things, and it could be, a lot of functional range of motion work of any kind, right? And I think that's a great way to just prep the body. So, I would have been, but that stuff came, my last season was 2021, and then it was all private from there. So I got went down that rabbit hole just basically right when I was getting out.
That makes sense. So tell us a little bit then about posturology. And the reason why I'm asking that is we're about to have Matt Boulay on the show here in the next week or two, awesome. 2-3 weeks, something like that. And so we're really excited to have him on. And, I'm going to claim ignorance on his system. I know it has a lot to do with eyes and feet and eyes, but and I hear lots of great things, but I'm kind of wanting a little preview of what to look forward to.
Yeah, so you're going to dig into motor patterns and primitive motor patterns and those things that if we developed absolutely perfectly, we'd have, check all those boxes, and it comes down to we don't and we didn't, we might have not, crawled right as a baby, and something that I go to all the time, so if I'm talking about Matt, I always tell this story because it was the one that really resonated is, there's a teenage girl that couldn't pistol squat on one leg and she could on the other very easily. And it was just, you've seen it. Athletes are stuck. And then the three of us know to look through the brain to find that mechanism, right? We're not looking at the body to figure out why that one leg's not working. We're going somewhere in the neuro world. Well, at that point, you've got pictures and videos of everybody crawling because we've had, technology for, this entire last generation. So you went and told mom to show you a picture of the baby crawling, and she's, has no toe extension on the right leg. She's tucking the leg underneath her body on every crawling gait pattern, if you will. So the left leg's working fine, no big toe in the ground at all. They reteach her how to crawl at age 15 or whatnot, and bam, pistol squat just happens, right? So you going back to those primitive reflexes. That's why we do neuro spike balls on the feet in my gym, because we want to wake up the tactile sensory system, and I've, had some pretty cool things happen with that silly spiky ball too, right? Contralateral crawling, just a lot of connecting patterns, and then just going back and trying to find the root of it. And I'll be honest, it was drinking through a fire hose, and I was in the middle of a second master's degree when I was taking his courses, and I didn't take the third because my culminating project was due the same semester. But, it was worthwhile. It was great. Matt's a fantastic human being. He's so giving and so accessible. I had him on Instagram Live a while back and whatnot, and he's just, he's a good dude just in general, somebody that you should have in your wheelhouse just because of the kind of human being that he is.
Sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having him on. So, it's and again, I'm claiming total ignorance. So it's it'll be great to just come in almost just, all right, Matt, just what do you got here? That kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to having him on too. But I want to dig into the primitive reflex side of stuff a little bit. When we talk to different coaches, it's not an area that we hear a lot. So I'm curious, like your experience with primitive reflexes and how you see that playing a role in, especially this younger generation, because I know that I see it regularly, and it can be very difficult to explain to a parent, like, hey, your kid's running form sucks because of this, and hey, your kid doesn't really have any business deadlifting yet. I don't care if you think it's good for him or not. It's not, and here's why. I don't know. So how have you seen primitives really influence some of your younger generation?
Yeah, just from an obvious standpoint, we don't move like we should, right? And I think
ain't that the truth? Yes,
product of society. And I'm going to claim a little ignorance on this because I've probably forgotten more about his programs than I learned. But I've just taken what I've taken is I've really committed to putting that into practice. But so y'all probably did this maybe at some point in your lives. We used to do this in like middle school football. Do like the monkey rolls. You got three guys, and the guy in the middle hits the deck and rolls toward the one side or the other, and the next guy jumps him, and he's got to hit and roll at the same time. And you have this weaving pattern back and forth between three guys. And essentially, we had to stop when the coach said it was time to stop, right? Okay, spend 10, 20 seconds, whatever that means. You know, some of my best athletes, you know, in here still struggle to, you know, sustain that for, you know, let's say 10 seconds, right? They don't get up and they don't know how to fall, right? And so I see people like, you know, Austin Yoakum and other guys that are doing really awesome play-based things. And so it's almost like, and then he gets slack for it because people are paying good money to have them go play, you know, spike ball with a somersault mixed with a hurdle jump, you know, and then someone shoving you on the ground. You have to react to it, you know, all these cool things. But at the same time, like, we better start including that. It better be something that we feel like we need to actually program just as much as your deadlift if we're going to be, you know, incapacitated to a certain degree to those, like, primitive movements. And you can't just add. So you got to get rid of something in the process. But I think sometimes like you said, that conversation becomes tough with those parents. Like, I'm paying you to, you know, play tag or somersault. On the other day, we just got the gymnastics.
Well, I think it's also still the perception. And sorry to interrupt you, but that's why we don't call these interviews. Well, I guess we do, but it's not an interview because I interrupt people all the time. But it's like, oh, you're just a trainer. Well, you know, I'm here to get stronger. Why does this matter? That's the overwhelming theme that I see all the time.
Yeah, when you can't fall with grace, you're going to probably get hurt. And I think that's probably the most important reason. Like, you're going to fall in sport. You're going to be off balance. Can you handle that? Do you even know how to navigate your body, you know? And it's just a lack of play and primitive, wherever you think we came from and wherever you think we started from, those primitive things that you were just picking up on the daily are just not happening, right? Mm-hmm. So now I got to teach freaking gymnastics in my gym because you don't know how to do a somersault, you know?
Yeah, I see the rings in the background too. Like, for those of you listening on audio, he's got the big gymnastics rings. He's got a big old warehouse, and he's got those rings back there. And it takes a pretty hardcore dude to be able to, you know, really do some of that impressive stuff up there. I know I can't. But
neither can I.
What? Yeah, no kidding. So let's kind of move into some of the more advanced components of, like, your system and what you do, you know, down there. You know, with some of, like, let's say, you know, your older kids, you know, older high school athletes, or maybe even college pro, who I don't really know the extent to, you know, some of the people that you train. How do you you talk about everything being regulated from a CNS standpoint. How do you tend to observe that and regulate that as part of your training? So, like, are you testing people prior to, you know, workouts? You testing them after? Does that make sense?
Yep. First thing is simple, the conversation. What'd you already do today, right? Where you been? What you do? How you feeling? The check-in stuff, right? That I feel like it's super easy to skip, especially if I'm rushing from the last session to the next and whatnot. But usually the older ones will tell you as well, and then you have to gauge whether how much of that is, you know, legitimate or if it's for a silly reason too. I like vertical jump tests. How close are you? I don't get caught up in the percentage because I'm too lazy to go look at my notes that says if it's off this much or whatever. But we're going to test that once a week anyway. So
okay, so what are you looking for in that vertical jump test?
If I hear 2 inches off, something's wrong. You know, that's just kind of where I'd see
so
it.
Just off your standard, standard standing vertical.
Just counter movement jump. So that's part of something we track on the posters on our wall. So it's really easy to look and see where people are. Their names are in dry erase marker under the vertical jump board. So
okay, I think that's a really good bit of information right there. I think it's a very unique way to approach it. Dig into that a little bit more. You know, why do you use the vertical? What are kind of the standards? You know, and what do you see as being things that influence this?
Yeah, right now the numbers data guy's laughing at me because I don't have the percentage, but I'm looking at that's just a big CNS fatigue. That's a maximum output movement that's going to require a lot of, you know, central nervous system to be operating at a high level, right? I'm asking for a maximum effort, no different than if I went out and did a 10-meter fly, and if you're so many, you know, tenths of a second off where you should be, you didn't sleep right, your girlfriend dumped you, you know, you didn't eat well, you know, some sort of excess stress is on you. So, you know, professionally, let's make sure we're not, you know, going too hard on something that taxes that same energy system, right? I just kind of know over time, like, all right, this kid, might not need this or that or the other. However, when they only see me twice a week, I'm probably not super sensitive to that as if I were running 4 or 5 day program in a high school setting, right? Mm-hmm. We avoid most of the main bench squat clean things in here anyway. Some of the patterns.
You can't use Olympic lifts on this podcast. That's a sin.
It's a sin in my gym too, so we're good. Yeah. Yep, they're outlawed here too. I don't even own a bumper plate, so that tells you something. There's not one bumper plate in here.
But okay, so you like to use it, the counter, vertical, just your standing, vertical. I agree. I think that's a great assessment tool. But just for some listeners who, like I said, maybe aren't, that's kind of a new approach, for them. Why do you like to use, kind of that standard, like 2 inches ish? Is there a particular reason, or just somebody said, hey, that's a good number?
No, it's just close enough for me. I think there's some error sometimes in our technology as well. I swear some days, you feel great and you look at that number and it's just like, I'm not tired. You can self-regulate. And there are some days where it literally is way, way off and I have to reset it. So, but I think, you don't have to, no one's hardly, you're not perfect every day, right? So if you're within a range, we're okay, right? And we're not hurt. Nothing's holding you back and inhibiting you physically from that, and then we'll try to level up, run that through the framework of square one and clear some layers out of things that might be compensating from any joint angle in that jump, and then retest and see if we just needed a quick, neuro hack on that, and boom, you're either there or not, and life goes on, That's why we test it so often, because I'm not, speed it grows like a tree. We're not going to be, that data plot's not going to be up every week, right? It's going to be a rising, tide of up, down V curves, and we're just looking for the overall, obviously, pattern to raise, that line to go in the right direction. But, I'd say most people would probably go up every third time we test, maybe, and then obviously you hit some sort of potential where you've got to increase some other capacity. Not going to just hit 50 inches one year and 60 the next and keep rolling.
Right, so. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you implemented the square one, because that, that's kind of where my next question was leading. Like, how do you now? We talked earlier about the, some of the neural. I'm going to call them the neural tricks. Okay, that's not a good word, but that's what I'm calling it. Some of the neural tricks. Some of the square ones, some of the posturology, IP, some of the reflex release. I'm sorry, not reflex release, but the PRP. RPR.
Come on, Chris. Like, we haven't even gotten into that on the show yet.
All right,
but little teaser. We'll talk about that another day, guys.
Some of the B activated. I learned it as B activated. Wade. Okay, so I would go back before it was RPR or whatever it's called.
We go back before RPR.
I go back, as John said. I learned by writing on stones. So that's that goes back a way.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how you mentioned it just a minute ago, how you kind of implement maybe a little square one. Somebody's maybe a little bit below 2 inches below their best. Is that what you do? You kind of maybe pull that person aside, maybe in the process of a workout, you actually maybe clear out 2, 3, 4 layers and then send them back in and then get somebody else? Or how do you implement that?
Yeah, we're constantly clearing throughout a whole session. I took a girl aside last night. She's back from a broken fibula. I had her for 2 days, and she went out and broke her leg playing soccer. So she's back using us for rehab and whatnot, and we just did 10 minutes of square one while the other people were on the assault runner treadmill getting their miles per hour, test in for the week. My trainer, Zach, he's square one certified now too, since I hosted a clinic about 2-3 months ago, and hey, go jump and go see Zach. That's how we do it. Come see me, come do this, come do that. I got the older ones just asked to be cleared out. Hey, can you check me? Can you do this? Hey, my shoulder's feeling this. And so they'll just come up to you and stick their arm in the air and say, check me.
Right.
So we can get that quick little neuro test. And yeah, so it's constantly what we're doing throughout, and a lot less with the second, third graders that are in here, obviously, because they're pretty spongy and adaptable, but it's hard to get them to actually, hold in live time. Like, we don't have the luxury to take a whole lot of time to do it, but we keep our groups small where we can actually manage them. I'm not herding 20 cattle in here at once and trying to pretend we get a quality workout. That's not my model. So we don't go above six athletes to one trainer in here. So we can always keep a pretty good tab on things.
Yeah. By the way, apologies to those. RPR, I believe, is what it's called. I've looked
RPR, deactivated. Douglas
you said
Douglas
PRP.
Field
Well,
attacks.
PRP is a treatment, but like
yes.
I was on PRP.
All right,
which,
John.
Yeah.
The crap. Confused enough.
Anyways, yeah. So yeah, no kidding. All right, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so Wade, as we wrap today up, like if you could give the audience, parents, coaches, athletes, if you could give them one piece of advice, particularly when it comes to experiencing, this new element of neurotraining, like, that we talk about so much and, that some others across the country talk about. If you could give them one piece of advice, what would you tell them?
I would say you're never going to be optimal without addressing the brain first. I don't care how freakishly of a freak you are. You can level up from that standpoint. So to the point where you are seriously missing an entire, multifaceted systems of performance and pain management and all the things that you already know. So basically, if you're ignoring the brain, your programming is lacking. You are missing a huge component. Literally, the epicenter of everything you're doing is not there.
I like it. Wade, where can everybody find you, man?
Yeah, Instagram, Wizard_Performance, Wizard Performance on Facebook. Not huge on other platforms. Twitter, as a football coach, I was all over there, and I'm barely on there anymore. So look me up. You can always DM. I'm good responding to DM. I'm not too big for anybody at all. So I'll get back to you very soon, and we'll go from there.
Cool. Well, man, I appreciate you joining us today. It was great to connect with you and hear about what you guys do down there in Texas. And, man, look forward to connecting with you again here in the future. Remember, guys, pay your dues, all right? Pay your dues, share the show. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. That's the show.
Thank you, Wade.
Thanks for having me.